Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tyler from the Keep Pounding podcast, and we have concluded the 2025 NFL Draft. What a heck of a weekend! It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself. Watched most of the draft. Didn't watch too much of today. Just kind of kept up with it on my phone. Had went to my niece's baptism today and spent time with family, so I just kind of kept up with it via phone, and then also some family members of mine. My wife's cousins are kind of talking about football. He's a Chargers fan, another one's a Rams fan, so we kind of talked about picks and stuff. But yeah, we're finally done with the draft, and I feel like it was very, very successful. I came away like really impressed with Dan Morgan as far as like who he selected, how they went about it, the how they executed the draft. It really, really impressed me for sure. Um, but today, I just want to talk about and give my thoughts on the selections here. Again, a lot of kind of going to go over. I already went over yesterday uh, the T Mac selection, so I'm not going to go over that one, but I'm going to kind of go over rounds 2 through 7 here. So Nick Scorton. We selected in the second round. We traded up from the 57th pick, and I thought this was pretty cool and interesting. So whenever this happened, I was obviously wanting to know what do we give up, and we ended up swapping 4 different picks with the Broncos. So we moved again from 57 to 51, and we swapped our second, third, fourth, and sixth round picks with their second, third, fourth, and sixth round picks. I thought this was a great trade. One, to get this player, but two, just the trade package made by Brand Tillis. We didn't lose any picks. We just traded and swapped. We just swapped picks. That was it. So I thought this was brilliant, and we still came away with still having our um, third, fourth, and sixth round picks. So Nick Scorton, he's an edge from Texas A&M. He's 6'3", 257 pounds. So in 2023, Nick Scorton played for Purdue. And when he played for Purdue, he weighed 260 pounds and he had 10 sacks that year. Then following year, last year, he went through the transfer portal and went to Texas A&M. And so their defense was slightly different where they wanted him to play a certain way. They had him, he gained more weight. So he weighed 285 pounds at that time and only had 5 sacks and 14 tackles for loss. And so you see a lot decreased production there. And with Nick, though, just going off his film, he's quick. He's a great solid run defender. He can get to the quarterback, but he needs to develop more as a pass rusher. And so if we can get Nick back to the Purdue 2023 form, I think this will be a great pick. I still think it's a great pick, but this is a guy where he's really going to help you again at run defense, but we want to be able to develop him as a pass rusher. He can still pass rush the defense, the quarterback, and still get hurries, but he can definitely improve upon that. During his interview, during his press conference after he got selected, that he mentioned how he was eating differently, maybe eating a little bit better, but mainly just how he ate it was different. So that's what I'm looking forward to during training camp to figure out what his measurable is as far as his weight, and then obviously that's gonna as you lose weight, you're gonna be more explosive. So and you can see that on his film. He's a little bit more explosive in Purdue versus Texas, but still his film from last year was pretty good. So this I was excited to see. As I can't remember. I think it was the Dallas pick. I can't remember what pick that was, where Donovan Ekaraku was selected, and then from there you saw the edges started coming off the board. So I felt like Dan, had his grades, and he saw them. He saw some of the players that they had on their board falling off, and so he wanted to make sure he picked one of those guys. And I really thought that was going to be uh, it. We're going to wait for the third round, but as the board fell, I'm like, dude, I could see us moving back up, but not sure when. Um, like depending again how I mean, I wasn't sure if we pick back in the second round, but I definitely thought it was again a while until we could pick again. So I thought we'd still move up, and we ended up moving up, and we pull over here. We picked up Princely. I can't really pronounce his name. Human Melian. So we picked him in the third round, pick 77. He's an edge from Ole Miss. So we traded up with New England, with the New England Patriots. We sent in our third pick, which is pick 85, and then our 146th pick, which is our fifth round pick, and we acquired their 77th pick. So we gave up our fourth to move up, which I'm not mad about. This was great value. He had this guy is more of a pure pass rusher. He's explosive. He has really a good explosive speed. He has good length. He has great bend off the edge. He had 10 and a half sacks this past season, 14 tackles for loss, and 55 QB pressures. That is something that we've been missing. He does need to improve on run defense, but he's still not a bad run defender. And so with Nick Scorton and with Princely, our edge rushers for coming up in this year is Jadeveon Clowney for now, DJ Wanham, Patrick Jones III, DJ Johnson. Then you have Nick Scorton and Princely. And so this is a pretty good group. That shows me that there's going to be, at the very least, there's going to be a lot of rotation in the game, keeping people fresh. We'll talk about Jadeveon in a little bit, but I like this group so far. Now we have veterans with Jadeveon and DJ Wanham. And then obviously you got Patrick Jones in free agency. Now, and I think DJ Johnson, I think he'll be cut after this in training camp. But now you have a young edge core now. So we have young receivers. Again, we got Excel and Jalen last year, and then obviously we signed T-Mac, or we drafted T-Mac, and you have that young group. Now we have a young edge group. So our two, and I still feel like we can still build on even the receiver too, edge maybe, but we have a good, solid foundation of young players in those important positions. And then in round 4, our pick 114. So we picked up Trevor Etienne. He is the running back of Georgia. He's the younger brother of the Jacksonville Jaguars running back Travis Etienne. So he spent 2 seasons in Florida before he transferred to Georgia. He had 122 carries, 609 yards, 9 touchdowns. He averaged right at 5 yards per carry. And he also is a good catcher in the backfield as well. He had 32 receptions for 194 yards, and he averaged 6 yards per reception. He's a good change of pace receiver. He, I think, will compete for kick returner and or punt returner. Our running back room now, you have Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle. Obviously Brooks is going to be out for the season. We re-signed Raheem Blackshear, and then you have Trevor, and I think Trevor and Raheem will compete for kick returner, punt returner, and RB3. He runs a 4.42 40. He does have a history of a rib injury that occurred in week 2. He missed about, I think it was just the second half of that game, but he's reportedly battled throughout the season with that injury. But as of now, he's supposedly fully healthy. So there's no concerns with his rib injury, but it just shows his toughness being able to play throughout injury throughout the year and still have those numbers. He also was suspended for his season opener. March of last year, he was arrested in Athens, Georgia for a DUI, but eventually was dismissed. So a little bit of history with him, but again, excited. I'm not surprised we came out of this draft with a running back. Not mad at it either. And then for the value, I think, I think this adds assurance, not only just now for, we need a depth at running back because of Brooks being out, but then also you need competition for punt returner, kick returner. But then also, like, after the season, we'll grade to kind of see how Trevor plays, how Rico plays, where Brooks is at. That's going to be a big question mark at the end of the season, this coming up season. But Trevor Etienne, pick round, our fourth round pick. Not mad at this at all. And then we picked Lathan Ransom. So Latham was our fourth round pick 122. He's a safety at Ohio State. He's 6'1", 210 pounds. He had 227 tackles throughout his career there. He played for 5 seasons. He had 3.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 13 passes defended. He obviously helped Ohio State win the national championship. But as a player, he's just super physical, very physical. He's a hard hitter. He has a high motor. He's a really good, reliable tackler. He rarely misses tackles in the open field. He's really good in run defense. He thrives at the line of scrimmage. So him and Travion Morig, they have the same skill set. The only thing that concerns me, not that he can definitely improve in coverage, particularly man coverage, but so does Travion. So the only thing that concerns me with the safeties right now is coverage. Hopefully, they're great at communicating as well, because we obviously remember last year how they weren't great at communicating, the safeties that we had. But it's that's the only thing looking at this. Like, I'm excited about this pick. And we'll see if we add to this group and undrafted free agents, yes, and then maybe even some people that are veterans, that possibly Justin Blackman is something we could pick up, or Justin Simmons. But this guy, he's also a really good blitzer. He's very versatile. They used him at Ohio State at strong safety, obviously. They used him dime linebacker in certain big nickel packages. He can be over aggressive. He can over pursue, when he's blitzing, or he can over pursue plays for sure. He does have some injury concerns. So he missed half of 2022 with a broken leg. And then in 2024, you saw on film, it showed him he was playing through a shoulder injury, and you can see on a film he occasionally was shying away from contact on his right side. So long-term durability is a question here, possibly, just with those injuries, but really good player for this value at this pick here. And the one player that I'm not shocked that we got, actually, was Cam Jackson. So I know we brought Cam in for a visit, but Cam is just, he's a huge human being. He's a defensive tackle for Florida. We picked him in the 5th round at pick 140. He's 6'6", 340 pounds. He has over 34-inch arms, and he has nearly a 7-foot wingspan. This guy is a dominant run defender, and he excels at the 2-down nose tackle position. So this guy will be backing up Bobby Brown Jr. And so, again, national dominant run defender. He has really good power, great hand strength. He has a quick first step, and he's a reliable tackler. The only thing with him is he's going to have limited pass rush ability. He doesn't really have a high ceiling as far as his pass rush ability. And at times he can be inconsistent with his leverage. Despite his size, he can play too high at times. This past season, he had 37 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. So not bad, but this guy is what I think they're looking for as well, and hopefully they can develop him a little bit more. But a really good nose tackle that is just super physical, that the offensive line needs to take account for, and he's really good at maintaining gap integrity. So this was a pick that I was really excited about, and wasn't surprised about either. I really, really did like this pick. The other one was Mitchell Evans. So Mitchell Evans was a tight end out of Notre Dame. So another Notre Dame tight end that we selected. We also have, if you remember, Tommy Tremble that we got from Notre Dame as well years ago. But Mitchell Evans, he's 6'5", 260 pounds. So he's an ideal NFL tight end size. This past season, he had 43 catches for 421 yards and 3 touchdowns. He started 11 of the 16 games. He had, I think the reason why he didn't start all those games because he had a 2023 ACL tear. But he's a really good blocker. So he excels as an inline blocker. He has reliable hands. He has a low drop rate. plays through contact. He's very physical. He fights for extra yards, and he's a red zone threat. He is not that fast. So he runs a 4.78 40. So obviously he lacks speed. Yeah, he does struggle to create separation. He can struggle as a pass blocker. He can struggle reacting to blitzers. Um, so I think this kind of complements our tight end room. So we have Tommy Tremble and Jatavion Sanders, and now we have Mitchell Evans. So I like our group right there at tight end, and a pretty young group still. And then our last pick in the draft was our 6th round pick, Jimmy Horn Jr. So Jimmy Horn played for Colorado, and he's 5'8", 174 pounds. This past season, he had 37 receptions for 441 yards and a touchdown. He did kickoff returns and punt returns. His kickoff return, he averaged 21 yards per return, and then punt returns, he averaged 10.29 yards per return. He's a speedy receiver. He's pretty fast. He's not like elite speed, but he's pretty fast. He runs a 4.4. He gives you your potential deep threat, which I feel like we need on this offense. He has elite quickness. He has special teams value as a kick returner and punt returner. He had a really strong season opener, and obviously you're playing on Colorado where they had a poor offensive line. You have Travis Hunter, so and he also had a little bit of injuries as well. But his season opener, he had 7 receptions for almost 200 yards and a touchdown. And then kind of fell off a little bit. But he did have a leg injury that limited him late in the season. He missed most of the final 3 games. He did go in for the bowl game against BYU, but he's supposedly fully healthy now. So they didn't really give details of what the lower leg injury was, whether it was a sprain, strain, fracture. I'm assuming it wasn't a fracture because he only missed 3 weeks, so it had to be a strain, maybe a mild sprain. But fully healthy now, no concerns. Was able to participate in pro day and drills. But this is something that I was wanting on our offense. Obviously, again, someone that's going to contribute to special teams, punt return, kick return, and gives you speed on the offense. So as a whole, this is an easy A for me to grade Dan Morgan on. Dan Morgan and company. That was a hell of a draft. It really, really was. It was a hell of a draft. I don't think I could have done. I can't really say anything negative about it. I really can't. They addressed needs. We needed a receiver. We needed edge. We needed a safety. We needed a competition, a kick return, punt return, and we needed speed on offense. And at value, this matched value and need. And how they navigated through the draft and did all this was really impressive. I'm really, really impressed with what they did here. I do want to talk about a couple things outside of the draft here. So if you remember, I believe it was yesterday or it was Thursday, but Dan Morgan said they would quickly make an announcement about Icky's 5th-year option, and they made it very quick. I guess right after they were done, they told Icky, "Hey, we're picking up your 5th-year option," which didn't surprise me at all. This is what I thought they were going to do. I do think they held out. I think there's 2 things. I think one, just being unsure who fell. You never know. Like depending on how the draft falls, what if something happened and your value pick was Kelvin Banks? They took your top. Your board was, let's say, Hunter, Carter, Mason Graham, T Mac, and then it was Jalen Walker, and then Kelvin Banks, and all 5 of those were gone. And because you're picking 8, and they can't trade back, maybe they wanted to hold off. So if they got Kelvin Banks or another offensive lineman that was just too good to pass up, then you're like, okay, hey, we're going to pick this guy and then figure what we're going to do out with Icky, So that I understood, but then also I feel like they just wanted to focus on the draft. And I feel like that was probably like 75% it. But so they're picking up Icky's 5th-year option. And I think, again, if he continues to play well, which I feel like he has been, he's been improving. He still can improve a little bit on pass rush, but overall, like he's playing really well. And I think after this season, as long as he continues to play the way he's playing, he's going to get a contract extension. So this was good to hear. I was hoping that that was going to happen. So with us drafting two edges, Nick Scorton and Princely, um, there's a lot of rumors on Twitter going around about should we trade Jadeveon Clowney? And I can understand why. So if we cut him too. So if we cut him, we save roughly $7.8 million in cap space. That will leave us $6 million in dead cap. Trading him would save us $8 million, but I find that very unlikely. One, the NFL draft just ended. Um, but you never know. Like sometimes, like if you have a player on your team and during training camp and someone gets hurt, you're like, okay, we have extra. The Panthers have extra edge rushers. Let's see what they want for Jadeveon. We need a veteran, and we get a fourth or fifth round pick out of it. Sure, but I just don't see it happening. Again, like some of the other things that I saw on Twitter where they were wanting to use that cap space and use that money for Justin Blackman or was it Simmons or I forget his full name, the guy that played for the Falcons at safety. It's still on the market right now. Sure, I think you could. I think that's a possibility. I think no matter what, I think they'd do that anyway. But I don't think that would be the sole reason why they would cut Jadeveon. He's a really good run defender. He had over 13% pressure rate last year. There were some like injury concerns or whatever, but I think Jadeveon is really good when you have him in rotation. And with what we have now, again, with Jadeveon, DJ Wanham, Patrick Jones the third, you have Nick Scorton and Princely, you're going to have a lot of rotations. So I think I really don't think it will happen as far as us cutting him and trading him. And I don't want it to happen. I want those all those edge rushers on our team and just rotating and being fresh. But again, Jay Morgan was kind of non-committal about Clowney's future when he during the presser. I think it was it was yesterday after we picked those two edge rushers. They asked about it. He's like, like could Jadeveon Clowney be released? And he's like, we're still working through the roster. So I'm sure there's a thought in his head about it because if they were like 100% no, then they would have said something. But I think maybe he just wanted to kind of see how the board or how the draft concluded. Maybe he just didn't want to answer the question. I don't know. So I think there's a possibility. I just don't think it's likely. Um, and then this is something I wanted to talk about and give my opinion on. Um, it was pretty much the talk of the NFL draft. So Shador Sanders. So Shador finally was selected by the Browns in the 5th round with the 144th overall pick. The Browns traded up with the Seahawks and giving them a 5th and a 6th to get Shador. And so I just want to talk about this whole situation, give my opinion on it. So Shador, to me, Shador is a really good player. His play on the field, like he's a good player. He was 2024 Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. He led college football with 74% completion. He had over 4,000 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Can you critique some of his play? Sure. He's not too big as far as height and weight. He's not super athletic. But to me, this is, in my opinion, and just going strictly off film, this guy is a late first round, second round, early mid second round talent at the quarterback position. How he fell had, in my opinion, had nothing to do with his on the field play. I think they probably didn't. Maybe sure there were some teams that truly, again, and we'll kind of go over some things like why I think he fell in a second. But I can understand why some teams may not have him as a first round talent. Obviously, there's going to be teams that are good at the quarterback position that aren't going to draft a quarterback. So it kind of bothers me when they say, 32 teams passed on him 4 different times. And well, there's a reason why a good handful of teams aren't picking him because they don't need him. But again, I know he had a poor offensive line in Colorado, but and he also had arguably the best wide receiver cornerback in college football history too. Um, but to me, Shador is a good talent. I think he can be a good quarterback on the NFL level. And it was surprising to me him sliding all the way down like he did. And a lot of people, again, had him projected as a first round pick. But obviously, I'm not the one that I'm not a huge college football fan. Like, I don't have time. Again, I have 2 jobs, 3 kids. The only time I'm able to really fully watch a game is the Panthers. My wife knows that's like, hey, when Panthers are playing, I'm gonna watch it. But other than that, like, I don't have time to like, not right now. I don't have time to watch all this. College football. I wish I did, but I don't. But I wanted to kind of educate myself a little bit before I gave an opinion on it, which I feel like you should do in any situation. Um, but to me, his draft fall was attributed to just concerns with how he conducted himself. I understand that part of it was maybe being Deion Sanders' son, having that. Supposedly, Deion was his agent, you know, and I can understand like maybe that's a part of it. Um, but I don't think his fall really had that much about, again, his play on the field. It had to do more about his off the field stuff. And so I've heard some things about Shador, but again, I wasn't like fully aware, like kind of like what's going on. I've just kind of like roughly heard things. And so I wanted to look some stuff up and understand, like, based on what I read and what I want to be able to give an opinion why he fell. I have an idea, obviously, why he fell, but I want to understand, like, before I give an opinion on it. So, facts. This is all facts that I'm going to be talking about. He's never been in trouble with the law. Never. There was an incident where his younger brother Shiloh, when he was 15, had a civil suit with some security guard or whatever, and it's settled for a lot of money, and he had to file bankruptcy, and there's this whole thing with that. And then, like, people, obviously, lawyers and stuff are asking Shador about, assets, NIL stuff, and whatever. That has nothing to do with Shador, and I bring that up because that's the only history that I found with people talking about law issues. There's a completely redacted thing that I saw on Twitter, which I find absolutely ridiculous, where people tried to say, "Oh, he was a part of an assault case or whatever." Completely redacted, not true. Um, so he's never been in trouble with the law. Never had like off the field character concerns. Like, this guy's going to go out partying, drinking, like being uh, disrespectful to people, fighting. None of that. None of that. Um, but what I did look up were just, again, when I look at it, and this is with any quarterback. I didn't like Baker Mayfield. I didn't like Johnny Manziel for these reasons that are tied to, I think, why Shador slid. But I think also, to me, Shador is better than Johnny Manziel as a prospect. So I can understand where some people on Twitter are like, well, Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel, they kind of were like this and they still got picked in the first round. I can understand that about Johnny Manziel. Baker Mayfield was a Heisman Trophy winner, and he was a better player than Shador, hands down. It's not even close. Um, but to me, Johnny Manziel was worse than Shador. Johnny Manziel had off the field issues, and it was known that he had off the field issues. Johnny Manziel was an arrogant person. I feel like he conducted himself in interviews better than Shador, based on reports that I'm reading. But I'm a if I'm a GM, I would pick Shador any day of the week over Johnny Manziel. So I can understand that comparison. But again, with quarterbacks, you want, obviously, to be a good talent, which Shador is. Shador is a talent that I feel like you can develop him and he could be a good quarterback. I feel like there's a ceiling with him. based on what I've watched with him. Um, but you never know. Uh, but a part of quarterback is leadership, galvanizing the troops, being a leader of men, and being able to lead an NFL locker room full of men. That again, the NFL is a business, and in a business, every player wants to make as much money as possible. And if you affect a person's money positively or negatively, it will affect your teammates 100%. And so some of the things that I read about him as far as off the field, more when I mean off the field, I'm more like interviews, press conferences, those type of things. So one of the things I read was after Nebraska lost, which I'm surprised Nebraska beat Colorado. I can't was it Matt Rule, right? I think Matt Rule is the head coach in Nebraska. But in a post game press conference, Sanders was frustrated with his offensive line, and he said, quote, "I wasn't protected like I needed to be. The offensive line just didn't give me the time to make plays." So he's already throwing his team under the bus. You don't do that as a quarterback, as a leader. Even if it's true, obviously it's true because if you look at film, he had a horrible offensive line. All scouts knew this, right? So it's not something he needed to bring up, but like this to me doesn't show it shows very little accountability and humility. Um, he also said, "How many times did Raiola get touched?" The opposing quarterback. He said, "How many times did he get touched?" And he attributed that to why they won. Again, probably true. I didn't watch the game. Probably true, but you cannot say that. I get being frustrated. I hate losing. I'm sure, but you cannot say that. He also criticized a freshman receiver for a mistake that he made for a pick six, saying it was a rookie mistake on his part. So you're taking no accountability whatsoever. Even though those things that you're saying are true, that's not good leadership. You keep those things in house. You don't talk about those things during a press conference after a loss, even if tensions are high. You have to be professional. And again, the NFL is a business. A quarterback is the face of the franchise. And owners, coaches want there to be not just a good quarterback, but a good leader and a good face of the franchise. That doesn't look good when you say those things. That being a part of your, uh, you know, your draft report, right? In that same game, I guess there was a video of Sanders that confronted his left tackle and slapped him in the head after being pushed back. After he was pushed, offensive line was pushed back into Sanders. Um, that's something to me again. I'm looking at this if I'm a GM and as a owner, I got to know that you have good character. Again, not just off the field. He obviously has no issues off the field. It's how do you conduct yourself professionally? You have to conduct yourself professionally. It's a business, right? You're representing a team and it's not Shador's team, it's not the Sanders team, it's an NFL team. And if I'm going to draft you, if I'm an owner, you have to conduct yourself a certain way. And that's where I would want to sit down with you and talk to you and just make sure like, hey, like I want to feel confident that hey, can we work on this? I want you to kind of um work on these things so that I don't want to see this on the sideline during one of my games. Again, I'm looking at this through the lens of a GM and a coach that would want to draft you and an owner. Another incident that I saw, like there was a scuffle that happened. I can't remember what game, and a referee was in front of him, and he just got mad and kind of nudged the referee and pushed the referee. You can't do that. Um, and then just kind of again some of the things I looked up, and I'm just putting all these pieces together to understand why he fell. So there was a quarterback coach that was a part of a team that was drafting in the top 7. So it could have been. the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Raiders. I feel like I'm missing one. The Bengals. Get one of those 7 teams. And that he came off and again, and Sanders declined interviews by teams he didn't want to draft, that didn't want him to draft. He declined interviews by teams he didn't want to draft him. And that was reported by ESPN Kalen Kaler, by the way. So that person put their name to that. So that's supposedly true. He declined interviews by teams he didn't want. And I'm sure he wanted the Browns. I'm sure he wanted the Giants. He probably didn't want, I don't know if he wanted the Raiders or not, but he probably just wanted those 2 teams. You cannot limit yourself. Like, unless you're just a surefire number 1 or 2, and he wasn't a surefire, like, top 10 quarterback. There's possibility of him being drafting top 10, but there was real possibility, obviously, with him falling out of the top 10. But you cannot limit yourself. Again, this is a business. You're doing a job interview. You cannot limit yourself to who you talk to one-on-one. That doesn't make sense. Keep all your options open. But during the coach that talked about this described Sanders coming off really brash and arrogant. Josina Anderson from ESPN reported that. And I get there's certain things that come out that can try to get someone to drop somebody in the draft. And if he was drafted in the top 10, 15, then okay, I can understand your argument. But he clearly wasn't drafted top 10 or 15. He dropped. He wasn't drafted until the 5th round. Pick 144. There's 143 picks before Shedeur. So this, that argument is out the window if you're mentioning, well, people are trying to do that to drop him in the draft. No. To me, this is totally credible. And then at the combine, he said, when I go visit these coaches and when I go to all these different franchises, I ask them truly what I think and tell them how I feel. Some get offended, some like it. So obviously him saying that, he said that at the combine. That was a quote. That matches what that quarterback coach said. When I read that, that comes off brash and arrogant. Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield didn't do this. They didn't decline interviews with tons of teams. They didn't tell the franchise, this is how I feel about you and how I want to be used and, what I think and how I feel. Like, sure, there's a balance to that, like what you want, like what you're looking for, like who you hope the team drafts you, what you hope they are going to be like and how their culture is going to be and how they run their offense or whatever, right? I get those things. But to me, this is like, hey, this is how we're going to do it. This is why we're going to do it. And I'm the one in charge. That's how I read this. But I can perceive and I can understand why someone would think that's confrontational or that it really lacks diplomacy. And again, the NFL is a business. This is a job interview. You have to conduct yourself a certain way. I don't care about the flashy jewelry. I don't care about, if you're, wearing the money sign, on your jacket or wearing legendary, whatever. Like, cool. I want you to feel like you're going to be great. There's nothing wrong with that. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that. And a GM and a coach and an owner shouldn't, like, there's a difference. I understand there's a difference between being cocky, arrogant, and confident. But like, there's also a difference between that and being just rude and disrespectful and entitled. And that is how he comes across without that elite talent. He also said during the combine, if you don't want to change your franchise, your culture, don't get me. Well, based on what I am reading about Shedeur and what I've heard him say, I wouldn't want you to run my franchise or change my culture. Again, to me, Cam Newton was our quarterback, right? Cam Newton was cocky and confident. I like that. He wanted to win, but he didn't come off arrogant and he didn't come off with I know better than you. Right? I understand again, like Cam's dad wasn't like this prime time player. I get that. I understand that. But to me, Dion has very little to do with this, in my opinion. I feel like a part of it is Dion, but I think also a big part of it is Shador. And I do think a part of it is, you know, owners. And I'm sure there are some owners that are like, no, I don't want him. That I feel like we're probably unfair, but I feel like that's probably far and few in between. And at the end of the day, we don't know because we don't know who those people are and their character, and you know, and there's tons of black quarterbacks that are starters. So to me, I don't think it's because like, oh, this is how you represent yourself. Like again, like I could care less if like Cam came out wearing like some ridiculous clothes or whatever. I don't care. He's a great player, right? Don't care. But at the same time, you have to there's a ranking structure, right? I was in the Marine Corps. Like to me, I believe in like um ranks. You have the owner, you have the GM, you have the coaches, you have the assistant coaches, the positional coaches, players, and then starters, then backups. Like there's a ranking there, and you have to show respect. And yes, you should voice your opinion on certain things, but there has to be you have to be able to having a personality where you can not be overbearing and become a distraction. And I'm again like I don't know Shador like, but I'm just saying like I can see with what I'm reading why I can understand why GMs wouldn't want to pick him. I totally get it, but NFL teams obviously didn't value his whole as a whole didn't value him as a quarterback until the fifth round, and it was not because of his play on the field. That is a fact. We all can agree on that. That's a fact. It's based on how he conducted himself and what he did during the interview process. I felt like if he conducted himself during the interview process professionally, again, it's a job interview. They don't owe you anything, dude. At the end of the day, they're still get these owners and GMs, they're still getting paid the same without getting you or not. Yes, you want as a fan, like let's just say Bryce Young was horrible and we knew that he was going to be gone and we needed a quarterback. I wouldn't want him on my team because I wouldn't want him to represent the Panthers based on how he conducted himself mainly my biggest thing is throwing players under the bus. You show no accountability, which tells me that you think that there's nothing wrong with you and that you don't need to do anything to get better. And if you don't do anything to get better and look yourself in the mirror and you're more self-aware of what you need to do to get better, then you're not going to win. And if you're not going to win, I don't want you as a quarterback. So that's just my honest opinion about it. I want to. This is a big hot topic. Um, what's going on, Gunter? I just saw your messages here. What's going on? Do I know a lot about Clemson? Not that much. I am from. I don't really watch that much college football. I watch mainly NFL. I don't have time at all to watch college football, but I know there's a big rivalry between Clemson and South Carolina Gamecocks. I have a couple of good friends that are huge Clemson fans. But I hope you're joining the show. But yeah, so I just want to give my opinion on Shador. You're a big Clemson super fan. I hear you. I live in California. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, though. But yeah, even if I was a college fan, I wouldn't really have a team that I would pick. I grew up a Duke fan, but more for college basketball back in the day. But we know how bad they are at college football. They're getting better, but they're not that good. Um, but yeah, so that's what I feel about Shador. That's what I just want to give my opinion on that. Again, I think this draft was an A plus. This was a great draft here. Again, they picked really good value in my opinion. They had and it matched our needs as well. So last year we saw that Dan Morgan picked well in the later rounds. You know, you had Trevin Wallace that contributed last year. Obviously, you had Shaq Thompson that went out, and so it threw him in there earlier than they probably wanted to, but he still contributed and did well. You have Jatavion Sanders, fourth round pick out of Texas, our tight end that did really well. We had Shaw Smith Wade that contributed and did well. Damani Richardson. You had Jalen Coker, undrafted free agent, that did well. So to me, Dan Morgan knows how to draft in later rounds, which we do not have a good history with. We never had a good history of a GM that, obviously, Marty Herney did well. He always picked Pro Bowl first rounders. But outside of that, we couldn't really pick well on the later rounds. But Dan Morgan shows that we can. So I'm excited to see how these later round players contribute. I'm excited about training camp. It sucks that the fans can't go to training camp. Running back is great. Did your running back get picked, or is he still going to be playing with you next year? What's his name? But I'm excited for training camp. I don't know when training camp starts. Let me look that up. 2025 Panther training camp date. So I know FanFest was August 2nd, but they haven't released specific dates for the training camp. It hasn't been announced yet, but it obviously starts around July. So Phil Maffa, is he did he get drafted, or what is he, a freshman, sophomore? Is he still going to be playing with you next year? So I believe it's going to be rookie mini camp coming up here soon, and then it's going to be mini camp, then training camp. So I'm excited. Hopefully, these beat reporters do really well reporting, because I always relied on Dunk from Unnecessary Bloodness. He always did a really good job um, giving really good detailed info on how each player was playing. Oh, he did get drafted. Nice. So this year, and then this year definitely. Hopefully next year it gets resolved. But this year definitely, there's no fans at training camp, so we won't get as much in depth knowledge about what's going on and how players are doing versus, like, I trust Mike K, Sheena Quick, Joe Person, um, but Fast Tie, all them. But hopefully they do a good job reporting everything. But yeah, I always looked forward to Dunk's. If you haven't seen Unnecessary Bluntness, Dunk does a really good job with, like, detailed players, how they play, what position, uh, how they fit into our scheme. Uh, he's really good at dissecting plays and explaining plays. Why it was successful, why it wasn't not successful. How was it executed? PNP does a really good job as well. They go out there a lot too, and give good information as well. Um, but yeah, so those are some of the other podcasts that I like to listen to. I respect those guys. Yeah, I know Trevor Lawrence. A lot of Clemson fans were hoping that we would pick him. I wanted him too, but the way that Trevor Lawrence is playing over there, it sounds like they're giving him the Andrew Luck treatment with no protection and no skill set players. But they now gave him Travis Hunter. But I think Travis Hunter will be a full-time cornerback and a part-time receiver. We'll see how they use him. I know they're going to use him dually, but they got to be smart about it, or else that dude isn't going to last long in the NFL. But we'll see how he. Let's see if we have a player that can play both sides of the ball, but his tread's going to wear thin. It's a different level in the NFL. But But yeah, if you guys like the show, hit like, hit subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell. Now that the draft is over, you know, we'll see if who we pick up undrafted free agent wise, and I'll make a video about those guys, about uh, their measurables, their strengths, their weaknesses, where do they fit, who are some potential players that will make the 53-man roster. Oh yeah. Well, who's your new receiver? I know they got Christian Kirk out of there, and then they got Tyler Lockett out of there. Who's your other receiver that you picked up? I don't remember who you guys picked up. And then I wonder who they else got on the draft too. But they got a ways to go. They got some. They need to give that guy some protection. Well, I know you got Travis Hunter, but who's your other receiver? Travis Hunter isn't going to be your full time receiver, in my opinion. I think he's going to be in certain packages, and he's going to be, to me, he's more of an elite cornerback than elite receiver. I think he could be a really good receiver, but I think he'll be an elite corner. Like, he's going to be easily top 2 in 3 years. To me, he has like, oh man, Darrelle Revis. Like, he's going to be, in my opinion, I think he can surpass Darrelle Revis as far as career if he sticks with receiver. Oh, gotcha. So, but yeah, I'll make a video about the undrafted free agents, and then I'll kind of go over, any news that comes up as far as, you know, we'll see if they trade Jadeveon Clowney or not to get cap space. I really don't think they will. I think you need. I'd rather have a good depth at edge rusher than get a little bit better safety. But I think they will end up getting a safety. I think they'll at least talk to Justin Blackman and Simmons. Because we still have a little bit more cap space left. But I still think we need. I mean, we have Damani Richardson, we have Nick Scott, then we have Trevion Morig, and then we had the new safety that we just signed, Lathan Ransom. So, oh yeah, the Texans. I can understand that. Yeah. Texans have been loading up on receivers for CJ Stroud. Hopefully they loaded up on offensive lineman because his offensive line was horrible this past season. I think uh, they got rid of who was that left tackle that they got rid of? I can't remember his name. Larry Tunsil? Was it Tunsil? I can't remember. But yeah. Gunther, you're a Panthers fan, I'm assuming, yeah? Or are you a Jaguars fan because you like Trevor Lawrence? You're a Panther. Are you a Panthers fan? Or are you who's your team? Oh, the Jags. Okay. Duval. Even Travis Hunter. Uh, Even Travis Hunter did the Duval. Your GM, man. How old is your GM? I think he's the youngest GM in NFL history. That dude looks like he's like 35 years old. He looks like he just graduated college in a degree in like um analytics or something. Yeah, Duval. Yeah, I saw his little speech that he had. His little minute 10 like philosophical speech that he had. But anyways, I'm gonna get off here. Thank you guys for watching. Gunter, good talking with you, man. Hope you like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be making videos. Typically try to do twice a week. I stream on YouTube and Twitter. So if you guys could like and subscribe and comment, I would greatly appreciate it. Good talking with you guys. But again, really excited about the draft. Really excited, the players that we got. I really think that's going to help the football team. We're continuing to grow. We're obviously not done yet. This isn't a season that we could get everything that we needed. We're last in the league 2 seasons ago, but we are definitely keeping up with the division. And I think it's going to be between the race between us, the Bucks, and the Falcons. I think the Saints are going to be easily last place. They got Tyler Shaw. Dude, I was one of the guys I follow as a podcaster, Big Q. Really like that guy. He's a nice guy. He's always an even keel, good dude, and he was when they picked him. But he's like, who is this guy? He's 26. We picked a 26-year-old. He wasn't happy about it, obviously, but he was cool about it. But the Falcons, I think, will be third. If I had to guess, it'll be a race between us and the Bucks, because the Bucks, obviously, they still have that really good offense with obviously Baker, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and then they picked up Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State. That's a really good receiving core, dude. Really good receiving core. So I don't know how they are defensively right now. I haven't looked into it yet, but we're gonna be competing with those two. But the Falcons, they had a really good draft. They had a really good draft defensively, for sure. So I hope that they don't do. Oh, they got Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr. They got Xavier Watts, the safety. They had a really good draft. They got I forgot Simmons left, but they got a good, good young draft there. So we'll see. But yeah, Horn will hopefully Horn can we'll see if Horn is going to be, if Evero is going to allow him to shadow specific receivers or not. I mean, we have Mike Jackson. He's a good corner, but depth wise at corner, we're hurting. So like right now, after the draft, after everything is over, I think we're still hurting at corner. We're still hurting at not hurting, but like we still have needs at like corner, safety. Um, you know, I think defensive end. I think inside linebacker is something we need to get young at. We eventually have to need to get Josie Jewell's replacement. We're gonna need offensive line depth still. So there's still needs for sure, but maybe even like it still wouldn't hurt to get a receiver, another receiver. But we're going in the right direction. So, but that's it for me. You guys have a good night. I gotta go to bed, but good talking with you guys. Hope you guys have a good night. Again, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate it if you like the content, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.